and welcome. I'm Cassidy Cash, and this is the channel where we go behind the curtain and into the real life and history of William Shakespeare to find out what it was like to live in turn of the 17th century England the way Shakespeare would have lived it. If you like history and you like Shakespeare, then this is the place for you. Hit that like and subscribe button because we're here every week. This week, we're going to explore sports from the 17th century by looking at the game of football and whether or not Shakespeare would have played something like American football or perhaps European soccer. Let's find out right now on That Shakespeare Life. The word football actually does come up in Shakespeare's plays. Twice, in fact, once in Comedy of Errors and again in King Lear. We take a look at the history of the game itself in another YouTube episode that I'll link you to today, but the references in Shakespeare's plays talk about the ball being round and refer to someone as a base football player. These references make me wonder what Shakespeare knew about football and what kind of game was being played when someone played it in the 17th century. Especially since today, if a European talks about football, they're talking about soccer. But here in the US, we mean a different game entirely. So what was Shakespeare meaning? To find out, I sat down with Henry Hansen, who is a scientist that performed tests on the 16th century football found at Stirling Castle. We talk about how that football would have been used in Shakespeare's lifetime, and here's what he had to say.
I think it would have been a good mix between the two. So I think the reference point that I have is in the middle of the 1800s, football and rugby kind of did a split when they started to make the rules, when the Football Association came into play. And so before that, it seems likely that there would have been kind of a combination of the hand-based rules and the foot-based rules. Somewhere in between, I guess. I've also heard it called a mob type of activity, a mob sport as well. So
yes, I've heard that mob football or even folk football, but basically some kind of combination of tons of people falling on the ball and trying to get it from one end to the other. So yes.
Yeah, by any means necessary, trying to move it. Yeah.
And not nice either. This is a rough and tumble sport for sure.
Yeah, dangerous.
In the rest of our podcast interview with Henry Hansen, he shares with us his research into the football that was discovered at Stirling Castle. That football is actually thought to have been owned by Mary, Queen of Scots, and it's a really exciting story. There's more history in our conversation on the materials used to make a football in the 16th and 17th century, and a lot more about Mary, Queen of Scots. So listen to our entire podcast interview with Henry Hansen right now at CassidyCash.com/episode 283. While you're there, if you would like to see bonus history about footballs in Shakespeare's lifetime, including some images of that football found at Stirling Castle and some portraits of players from the early modern period, then hit the Become a Patron button on the show notes page. That button allows you to join us as a patron or log in using your Patreon credentials if you're already a supporter of our show, and tons of bonus history related to today's topic will expand right there on the page. That's it for this week. Thank you for watching. I'm Cassidy Cash, and I hope you learned something new about the Bard. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.